Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to Albuquerque Narrative Gamers, episode 7. And yeah, I said episode 7 because I meant that this time. I usually say issue. I don't know why. I'm all messed up.
It's for when this runs to print.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be our show about getting started with Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is just an amazingly fun game, constantly in development. They're constantly pulling levers, knobs, buttons, and dials. I would say not with the finesse of some other companies. Sometimes it's a hammer and sometimes it's a Nerf bat, but it's still a really, really fun game at every level. At the top competitive levels, it's a blast to watch the really amazing players play their games and use tricks and traps and what have you that just blow your mind. And then you just sitting down, you can play as casual as you like. So
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we're talking about the different, essentially like 3 kind of game modes we're looking at. I mean, casual versus tournament and a really fun sort of raid style you can play with it. That's so fun. But it's everything Marvel. And
God.
So, we'll talk a bit about gameplay and stuff, but we're probably just going to nerd out about, our favorite Marvel characters.
Oh,
and
what
they
do, man. It's going to go nuts.
Because that's one of the best parts of the game. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been an extra week, hasn't it?
It has been. It's been a little weird. I don't understand your comment. What was that? How odd was that?
Yeah, I mean, the world's been a little crazy right now. This little comment that I put on there is like Bill saying it was crazy, and I was like, yeah, Bill killed a man with a trident.
Yeah, that's how crazy it is.
Should lay low, Bill.
Oh, yeah, I should go underground, but
Throw an Anchorman quote in wherever you can,
It has been. Friday was definitely an interesting day. God, I love Israel so much. You did. I'm sorry. They did what? And okay. Oh my God. All right. Whatever. But yeah, it's been a strange time. I do work in the missile defense world, and with President Trump deciding that he's real serious about that missile shield, it's been busy times for us.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, but we're here. We're back. We're going to do this.
Real quick note, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. You're hearing this a week late, but
yeah,
Happy Father's Day. Hope you're all celebrating, getting out there with your your New Balance sneakers and your khaki pants and grilling up some burgers and dogs.
Shorts and socks. Yeah, baby. Or, shorts, socks, and sandals. That's the killer
trifecta.
dad. Yeah, that's the killer dad look. And I can rock that look. We're going to have a burger burn in July, around the holiday and everything. At work, we're going to have a burger burn. And I always do the burger burns. They seem to like it when I do it. So, but I swear to God, that day I'm going to wear shorts, really long socks, probably with some wacko design. Might even wear Games Workshop socks, the Space Marine socks, and sandals. And this lady Mandy at work was like, if you do, you will not come in the building. You will stay outside and cook, but you will not be allowed in the building. I'm like, fine.
Oh, God. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, that's the way you want it.
Yeah, I mean, this morning I woke up and I swear, the cacophony of, fathers mowing the lawns was almost mind-numbing.
Yeah.
But it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, everyone.
Indeed. And I apologize for forgetting, but yeah, I don't do the father thing because I only father dog. Well, that doesn't sound right. I only have
son of
dogs.
A bitch. Sorry.
Oh, wow. That was so, oh, man. Here's a softball, Josh. You want it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
Got any more?
No.
All right.
Well, I'm sure I do. We all know how.
Yeah, you'll tee it up for me.
I will.
We're making dad jokes today, folks. All right.
Yep. So let's head out to some of the new stuff that's around the world.
Oh, boy.
This one is going to foreshadow what the next show is going to be about, because the new General's Handbook and the Sand and Bone Gaming Pack for AOS dropped. I mean, I got mine through the store yesterday, so I don't even want to begin to cover it because, Josh can see, I haven't even cracked either one of them open yet.
Yep.
Not
yet.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to go through these things and to really formulate. Really looking forward to the Sand and Bone Gaming Pack, a shake up to the Spearhead thing. The GHB, you know, I started to watch Rob's video on the new battle tactics and stuff, but I fell asleep. So, well, the nice part was I watched a lot of Rob's videos, so I gave him a lot of content updates, you know, just a lot of watched hours because it was on all night. I woke up and Rob was talking about stuff from like a year ago, and I'm like, weird. But hey, if it helps him, so much the better.
Right.
In gaming news, and this I think is reasonably big news because it points to basically the death of one of the biggest board game companies around. And I kind of can't say it's not a well-deserved death, but Simon Games, which is Cool Mini or Not Games, sold Zombicide and a couple of other of their money-making treasures to Asmodee. Obviously, this was to get cash because the way they have always done their Kickstarters is they would put out a Kickstarter for a game, collect all that money, use that money for the last Kickstarter they just finished, and then so they were always a Kickstarter behind. So when the tariff situation came up and slapped them in the face and they had zero income for quite some time, they just couldn't.
Yep.
You know, they're in the last thing you want to do is be as big as them and fail to deliver on a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So but you know, my thing is you sell Zombicide, which is your bread and butter. It's the thing that makes you money hand over fist. And you sell that to fund what you're in arrears for, and you still release an earnings report that says you're $2 million in the hole.
Oof.
Yeah. So that to me says they're going belly up. I think once they fulfill these Kickstarters, they will probably maybe not go belly up, but they will probably do some sort of Chapter 13 reorganization or maybe full bankruptcy, depending on who and what they owe. And then seriously restructure how they do things, which, I mean, I don't wish ill on any of those guys. I just think their games are so hit or miss that, you know, churning out Kickstarters to me is not a really good business model. I don't think.
Yeah, I was wondering what was in store, you know, when it really started to come out that they were, you know, sinking, you know, because Zombicide is a beloved game.
Oh God, yeah.
It's everywhere. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, could you imagine Zombicide disappearing? You know, like it's not being made anymore, but like the fact that they got it over to Asmodee, I mean, I think that's a good house for it to be in, so that way it can continue being supported. So
yeah, and you know, the thing with Zombicide is they would put out a Kickstarter for an expansion. And, you know, some of the big properties they got, like Marvel Zombies and, you know, some of the other ones, those were amazingly huge. But the average Zombicide Kickstarter will bring in over $1 million. And I don't think production cost goes near that. So that's a profitable thing to a property to own.
Yep.
And to sell it off, I'm just shocked that
it means they're done, man.
They're
done.
You cut off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel bad for them. I know they tried. I don't think they're in the business of just trying to suck money out of people. They're trying to make good games, but some of them are just hard misses. And that's sad. But hopefully they can recover and get better, and nobody has to get fired and go home without food that day.
Yes.
So in the Warcrow world, big news. Big. The cavalry's come in. The cavalry boxes. Right. So the Black Angels for the Hegemony and the Warg Riders for the Northern Tribes. Oh my God. Have you seen those models?
Oh my God. They're beautiful.
Aren't they? They're just those Black Angels. I'm
God, right?
Oh my God. They are so gorgeous and just awesome. And at the same time, they released the Strategos for Hegemony and the Revenant for Northern Tribes. Those are two add-on leader support character types. So just gives you a lot more flexibility when you're building your stuff. I think they really have started to reach a point where you have big options now in how to build a list for the game. It's not going to be, I take this because it's what's available.
Yeah, it's interesting how they've been doing the releases. I mean, like Hegemony and Northern Tribes are like fully fleshing out at this point.
Yeah.
Right. the flexibility you have, again, with list building, which means you have more strategy than any of the others. I mean, like, everyone else is behind, I think, with the exception of Scions. The only thing Scions don't have is cavalry right now.
They don't have a cavalry, but they can put together some crazy lists.
Like, good luck killing some of those lists because they just keep coming back.
I'm going to go up and beat you up, and when it's your turn to get me, I won't be there. I will not be there, and I will not be in your range either.
Oh, you're talking about the Xenon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Xenon are interesting. I love their mobility, the range, you know, like, I think they got the flavor of the elves down.
Yeah, a very ambushy type wood elf sort of thing. They nailed it. They nailed it hard.
And I was talking about the Scions, the necromancers and all that. The evil elves. Like, if you like your things dying and coming back, boy, have I got an army for you.
Do you have options? Wow. Yeah, and now with Warcrow having 4 very distinctly different playstyle armies, I really think it's poised to hopefully make an impact on the scene. They just have to start pushing it out there more and really throwing it out as an option. And it's, you know, it's the thing that kills me about between it and AOS is just the size, the absolute size of the units, of the table, of everything else. It's a lot more manageable.
Yep.
But it's every bit as fun, and it doesn't take 3 hours and 4x6 or whatever that is now, 46 by 58 inches. You know, whatever they've decided is a kitchen table.
You know, I say is, I think Warcrow kind of scratches the same itch as like Warcry did for me.
Yeah, but with a lot more better depth.
And better models, frankly.
Yeah, I loved Warcry when it first, but then when they just stopped supporting it, here's a life support pack now and then. Okay, whatever. That's sad. Because it's a really cool game system with dice being a hugely deterministic factor, but not causing you to lose all your games.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, GW, give more time over to the guys who made Necromunda or who work on Necromunda.
Yes, please.
And imprint money.
For the love of God. Yeah, just watch the cash roll in. Anyway, let's take a quick break so we can get breakfast, and we'll move on. We'll come back to more new stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we took that quick break to have our breakfast because breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which is actually not true. That was a Kellogg's branding thing that just seems to have stuck. But anyway, let's move on to more new shit.
Yeah, there's still more.
There is. For Marvel Crisis Protocol, I put, oh my God, because I got my Phoenix Unleashed. I thought there was some major delay on that until like late July or August, but there it was. It was sitting at Slice and Dice, and Vic was like, here you go. And I was like, oh, dude, you rock. That Phoenix Unleashed is bonkers. Have you seen what she does?
I haven't read her card. I did read her card, but I don't remember what she does.
She's a thermonuclear bomb. So she has these Phoenix tokens, and as you know, things happen, people die and what have you. She gets these Phoenix tokens. When she gets 3 of them, she flips to her other side. And then you start counting up her power. And at a certain point, she just nukes. She just explodes from the movie. And, you know, everything dies. Just everything dies. She is crazy. And there's mechanics in there. Obviously, you can add tokens and subtract tokens. So you can kind of control how she's going to go. But a KG opponent will sit there and feed her Phoenix tokens until she explodes. And then suffer and I think it's a range 5 explosion.
Jeez.
Yeah. So everybody, friend, foe, you name it, explosions, you know, napalm sticks to everything. So
Phoenix, so hot right now.
Oh man. Yes. And just, you know, the look of her, and seeing so many people, some people are painting her up as Dark Phoenix. Some people are doing her as the Red. I don't know what I want to do because they're all so cool.
Yes.
And I hate it when you have a character like that where, you know, I did my She-Hulk as, what's her name? You know, the Red She-Hulk.
Oh, okay.
And just because I didn't want the same green She-Hulk as everybody else. And I kind of like her in that style. And I kind of want to, you know, not just always do the same paint job on all these models. So I don't know what I'm going to do with her.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to MCP generally. There's a lot of hobby discussion right there.
A little bit. For Middle-earth strategy battle game, wow. So you took one of the most ardent and supportive fan bases and you are doing everything you can to alienate them in every way possible. But the Army book did come out. The match play guide did come out. Finally, the Hera models came out. The Prince Imrahils, all the models are starting to come out, and the Army book came out. So, and yet they still they have still legendized so many armies that people love playing, and it's wow, really, you're just basically ensuring that a homebrew set of rules is going to be baked up for the game to return it to where, I mean, the rules are fine. It's just what you did, because you no longer own rights or licenses, I guess, to some of these ancillary properties.
Yeah.
And yet you just take them out of the range and say, yeah, no, they're not usable in game. Sorry, go away. Yeah, you've killed your own tournament system, and you're going to foster an entirely new one to just appear out of nowhere because people are going to want to play with the armies they know and love and have.
Or even just the models for the army that they have that you took out of the range, Yep.
So, I don't know. Think it through, guys. Think it through. You want to talk about the Final Fantasy?
Oh, yeah. Well, it dropped yesterday. Not yesterday. Friday. It's the official release date. It's been wild seeing the prices and everything fluctuate. I'll talk a little bit more about, the finance side of stuff in After Dark, but, prices were through the roof.
Yeah.
They dropped. I think they're quasi-stabilizing. It's going to be a few weeks before they really stabilize, right?
Yeah.
As people are actually starting to make the decks, test them out, find out what's strong in standard, modern, if anything's going to move into the eternal formats, right? It's been a wild ride. I had broken. I bought a box.
Nice.
Buy singles, don't buy boxes. But I had good pulls. I got my VV, I got Terra. I got 2 Terras. I got the regular one and the full art borderless one. 2-drop cloud. Like it was a good box. It was a good box. So
well, anytime you can pay for the box with what's in it, you're pretty much on the plus side. So
well, I mean, as of I think was it this morning, MTG Goldfish put out a finance report, and like prices are starting to move up.
Really?
Yeah, on some cards.
Huh.
There's specific cards that are starting to show an upward trend.
Yeah, and rarity factors are starting to come in. People aren't getting the pulls they thought. So, yeah, I mean, when do you think the plateau, some sort of equilibrium will be reached? How long do you think it usually takes? A week, 2 weeks?
It takes a little bit longer than that because there's going to need to be Magic tournaments to help determine what prices are going to be on some cards. Like I'm confident that Cloud is going to stay pretty high up there. Because he's essentially an effect like, what is it called? Stoneforge Mystic. So he comes into play, you tutor up an equipment and put it in your hand. Then if any equipment is attached to him, or if he has any ability that would trigger when he attacks, then it doubles the triggers.
Ooh.
So, or whenever a trigger would happen, I should say.
Yeah.
So like Umezawa's Jite, for example, like if you do combat damage to a player, you get 2 counters on it that you can remove for an effect. Either give you +2/+2, -1/-1 to a creature, or gain some life, right? But he gets 4 counters because of his ability. So I think he's going to stay pretty high up there. VV is going to maintain price. I think VV's going for about $50 right now.
Damn.
Terra's one I'm not sure about. Maybe just the special one will stay up in price because the other Terra's like $5.
Yeah.
Like the normal printing. So it's more, I think, the art aesthetic that people are going for.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see more on that in After Dark. But I think it's going to be, I think most of the cards will probably 2 to 3 weeks will balance out.
Yeah.
But the all-stars, the ones that are really showing up in tournaments and stuff like that, we're not really going to be able to determine value until like a month or so out.
Sure.
So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and second to last. So Daggerfall released.
Okay.
Daggerfall.
You mean Daggerheart?
You stupid little Elder Scrolls.
I was like, it's been 30 years, Bill.
Yeah. This really cool gold box game came out. You can run it on PC if you have the command line. Anyway, how about Daggerheart?
Yeah.
Came out. Now, I'm going to tell a little bit of the story here, but I'm going to save most of it for After Dark. Because it's a role-playing game, and, only if people want to hear about it will I go more into it. But Daggerheart came out. I truly wanted to hate that game. I wanted to look at it as what I felt like it was, a Critical Role money grab. Mm-hmm. It's not. pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It is so good. We ran the first test session Thursday night, and I was blown away by how seamlessly we went from character creation and the weirdness that entails, slide into this little adventure, and then just played through the game until we reached a logical stopping point and went, God, that was fun.
Yeah.
and haven't had that feeling in so long. It was crazy. There's enough crunch that you can make the characters very personalized, but you're not at the point of having to look up 57 different books and grab the 9 different 5e books that you need to make a character. And, there was just so much more. Having no initiative system, having it be completely cinematic, so much fun. If you don't like cinematic role-playing games, if you want that crunch, avoid it like the plague, because that's not what you're going to get. But if you do like flowing narrative stories, it's awesome. And now, last but not least, in the realm of the miniatures game, this game came out a couple of years ago. It's called Moonstone. And Vic over at Slice and Dice here in Albuquerque, 2 stores, by the way, west side, east side. He's not a sponsor. I just plug him every time I can because he's awesome. So is his wife. But they started carrying Moonstone, and in a big way. They bought into it hard, and so did I. Well, it's fantasy creatures. It's 3 to 6 miniatures per side.
Okay.
Very, very simple to play. The card decks that you get with the starter packs are really what you need. Basically, the gist of it is you set up a 3x3 map. You take this handful of 7 D4s. You throw them up and let them land on the board. And those are the moonstones. The value of the die is the depth to which the moonstone is. So if it's 4, it's buried pretty deep. If it's 1, it's kind of near the surface. And that's how long it's going to take one of your characters to be in range of that moonstone and dig it up. All the while people are trying to kill that character because, well, they want the moonstone too.
Yeah.
So you're fighting over these moonstones, and whoever has, more at the end wins. And it's a blast. And the characters, the creatures, these are all crazy, outlandish fantasy. You're not going to see an elf, a dwarf, and an orc. You're going to see the mushroom men. You're going to see the pirates. The pirates who are, one of them is a female pirate. The other one it looks like sort of a tree stump that has legs. And I believe the last one it's either a mushroom or a dog. But yeah, one of the cavalry pieces is a goblin riding a pug. I mean, it's fanciful. It's out there. It really appeals to Pam. She saw, and she was like, I want this box and I want this box. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's a very simple skirmish game. You don't look for, it's not Infinity. Okay. It's not Infinity. It's not Kill Team. It's not
MCP.
It's not Halo. It's not MCP. It's not even Halo. It is very simple, but that does not mean it's easy. There's a lot to it. There's some really cool, crazy mechanics. The way the arcane card deck works and the way you cast your spells and use your abilities with your different card draws is a lot of fun. It's really a ton of fun. So anyway, we'll talk more about that in a show or two. But that was it from the new stuff. Shall we move on to hobby?
Yeah, be pretty short, I think.
Yeah, for me, I picked up Brian over at Etten, got me the set of Monument, the heavy body paints, the tube acrylics. I just barely scratched the surface of playing with them, and I can already tell you I really like them, but they are very specific applications.
Gotcha.
They're not going to be a paint range that, you must go out and buy this. If you know what to do with very heavy body acrylics, then you'll know what to do. And if you learned art in school, these things are the tube acrylics that are just, the amount of pigmentation in them is crazy. And, the guy in the video will tell you flat out the difference between these and the ones that come in bottles is what comes in a bottle is this with the binder mixed in already for you. What the tube allows you to do is, instead of using their formula for how thin it becomes, you use yours. If you want to apply it directly out of the tube, yeah, go for it. You will have incredible opacity. It will cover, the yellow will cover black in a coat.
Nice.
It's just that will do it. And if you want to thin it down to where you can run it through a 0.12 nozzle in the airbrush, you will get that exact same coverage because it's so heavily pigmented.
Wow.
You'll have some control issues going at that. But anyway, that's if you know what you're doing with an airbrush. But yeah, you can turn it into a glaze that will do whatever you want. There's only like 16 colors.
Okay.
But again, that's what you need it's the basic colors. It's the Payne's grays. It's the Thalmor yellows and Phthalo yellow. Thalmor. Am I stuck? Wow, I am stuck on Daggerfall. Nasty elves. It's the Phthalo yellow, the Prussian blues, the basic colors from which you can mix every other color in the rainbow. So
that's cool. I'm excited to see what you do with it.
Yeah,
once
me too.
you finally get into it further.
I actually really wanted to get it to be able to have some glazing for the cyanin for Warcrow.
Oh, okay.
Because I felt like I know I'm going to be using speed paints on those because of the way I want them highlighted, but I don't think I want them. Basically, what I think I'm going to do is cover them all with yellow and then use the contrast greens to bring out the darkness and then use that as an airbrush filter to go over the top and bring back that yellow.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
We'll see how it works first.
Knock on wood.
Exactly. So that's all I did. What are you doing?
So I started painting the Uroni I got.
Yes.
And
boy, did you get Uroni.
Yeah, because it got the Daimyo, the Oyabun. So those are the two like ogre style leaders. One unit of the sumo dudes, the Ayakashi.
Yeah.
And then a unit of the Tengu, which I did as archers. I want that range flexibility.
Oh, sure.
Especially because they move so fast. You know? Like float around the board, pick things off. Yeah, okay. I'll do that all day. And then, what are the other guys? The other Kami with the swords.
Oh. See, this is where I get all the names, especially with getting into JSA for Infinity at the same time. To me, everything's a Shinen Butai. That's it. Everything. That's it. It's what I know how to say. That's what everybody is.
Right. So. I haven't been able to get a Kitsune yet. But that's what I basically have. And so how I'm painting them up is, I think we talked a little bit about it before, but generally the kind of concept of the Uroni in Conquest is that they're actually like elemental spirits that have essentially gone through like ascetic practices and stuff because they believe that if, they can reach enlightenment, they'll be able to go into the physical world. And when the, oh goodness, who was it? The 100 Kingdoms awakened their archangel.
Yeah.
It created a window between their reality or the elemental plane and reality itself.
Sure.
And
blame the 100 Kingdoms, whatever.
See what fate does. You bring demons. But they had built up this tower over millennia, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get to the surface, right?
Yeah.
Just to get into reality. And that was the window that opened and they started coming out. So my concept for painting them is painting them like statues, but having like the energy based off of the element that they are.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Like cracking through.
Yeah.
So it's them coming into reality, animating. Aha. So, excuse me. That's what I'm working on right now for them. But for the most part, Magic has been dominating my life recently. Just play testing, I've proxied up decks, I'm just like going insane on that. But there's some more video game stuff we'll talk about because Liza P. Overture Shadow Drop this week. I was not expecting to have to spend $40. But otherwise, I'm playing a little bit of the Tainted Grail game.
Ugh.
Yeah, great game. We'll talk more about it later. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I mean, like I'm painting every now and then, right? Like it's sort of, I'm sitting here watching TV. Let me just go ahead and,
Yep.
So I'm still having to go through all the dry brush layers right now on all of the models because they're massive. Like those things, like when they said that they're an all brute army, like they did not joke around.
No, they're big.
The sumo dudes don't even fit on the base. Like all of them have some part of their feet hanging off.
The Golter Beast Pack that I built for the Nords, they're just bigger than the bases. Yep. And I'm like, God damn, I hate it when they do that, but I love it because the presentation is so gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's Parabellum just knows what they're doing, I swear.
Yeah, they've nailed a certain aesthetic, and if you like it, everything they do is phenomenal. I can see there might be people that don't like that style, that look. But man, they're so good. So good.
I think with the diversity of armies, how they have an identity, not just in how they play, but in how they look.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost got something for everyone. Like,
yeah,
it's really hard to say. I mean, at the very least, orcs on dinos. Like,
yeah.
That's, for me, that's the army that I get people that interested in the game with, you know?
It's so refreshingly different. Their take on all of the original tropes. You know, the dwarves are not your stock standard dwarves, but you can paint them up to be that image in your mind of dwarves.
Yeah.
And have a lot of fun with it. And, you know, on the flip side, the undead with their aesthetic is just, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So cool.
Roman legions.
And, you know, just within a faction, just for flat out, you know, take 100 Kingdoms, for example. You have 4 breakdowns. Because of the way 100 Kingdoms work, you can always combine 2 of them in your list, except for Order and Theists. But they don't go real well together. They have a history. So you're never going to see like the Archangel and a whole bunch of cavalry. Mm-hmm. That I think would be a broken game. So they said no right off the bat, and it works exactly for the lore.
Yeah.
You know, but if you mix the feudals with the theists who do have access to the Archangel and other wonderful things, now all of a sudden you're back in that cavalry game, obviously, albeit lighter, much lighter cavalry, but lots of units that will fit your play style. So
yeah,
it's not even like, well, I picked this army and they don't play the way I want. Well, change what faction you're working with. Every faction has breakdowns within it that will allow you to play a completely different style.
Yep.
And that's what's so refreshing about, I have the same units, I change the leader, and I fundamentally alter how this game plays for me. So I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
And it's a great moneymaker because, you know, if this was another company, each one of those would be a separate thing, and you would have to buy their boxes and put them together and you know, pay 8 times for what you need. Anyway, let's take a quick break and go on to the lore, which is MCP.
The world has gotten even stranger than you already know.
At this point, I doubt anything would surprise me.
$10 says you're wrong.
Okay, so I just referred to it as the lore segment. Wow. Sometimes after 183 episodes, you get stuck in a rut. And that's where I'm at.
The record skipped a little bit, folks. It's okay.
It did. How about we do our getting started segment with Marvel Crisis Protocol?
Gird your loins, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
This game is awesome.
This might take a while, or it might be very brief. I don't know. No, I do know.
Yeah.
Marvel Crisis Protocol is from Atomic Mass Games, a game company that formed kind of from the ashes of what was the old Privateer Press. The really good people from that old company got together and said, hey, let's go do our own thing.
Yep.
Their initial claim to fame was somehow they managed to work with the mouse company and get the Marvel license. Mm-hmm. And that allowed them to do a game called Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, when this game was first announced, I was very hesitant. Mm-hmm. I had never heard of the game company. And at the time, I was like, oh, great, we need another Marvel game to go with all the Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. Yay, this is gonna suck. And then, you know, do a little research, dig into it, and you find out that it's Will Schick and Will Pagani who are doing this. And these are the guys that actually made the good parts of War Machine and Hordes. Mm-hmm. They were the ones that put the good in War Machine. And when they left, it went under. Mm-hmm. So I became a little optimistic. And then came the day of days where the box dropped, and go home like a kid with a new toy, open it up, start reading through the rules and going, oh my God, this is so good.
Yep.
This is so good. And then within a month, we were in the thick of COVID. Mm-hmm. And what should have been the absolute death blow to a game, a miniatures game that requires 2 players in a world where everyone is quarantined and cannot go out and play. It should have killed this game at the beginning. They should have literally just gone bankrupt and said, we tried, just the situation was against us, sorry. Instead, a group of enterprising, wonderful people turned the game rules into something you could do on Tabletop Simulator. And the game just went absolutely bonkers. The TTS modules and what have you kept the game alive through the COVID period. And then everything, once all that was a little bit behind us, tournament after tournament after tournament. I mean, we had Tuesday game nights out here at Slice and Dice. Vic was very much into pushing it because there were so many people involved. And we had, oh God, at least a couple of years worth of just it's still going on, by the way. Yeah. Tuesday night, MCP nights. And it was just a blast, absolute blast. A lot of little league things, just tons of fun. It was a blast. It still is a blast. And what makes this game great is we like to start off with, why is this game so good? And the first point I want to bring out is that, and it's something the developers they feel is very important for everyone to know. Every character card and every character model that has come out is a snapshot in time of that character.
Yep.
It is not meant to encompass that character throughout the Marvel comic book series or the movies or what have you. So when you see Spider-Man and then you see that there's 3-4 versions of Spider-Man, understand that these are at different points during his career. And there's a Miles Morales Spider-Man who, as we all know, is a little bit different from Peter Parker.
Just a little bit.
So just a little. And so understanding that when you see a character and then you see the exact same character in a different box, it's not that it's an upgraded version or a downgraded version. It is just a different period in time that character exists. There's 2 different Thors. There is Thor, Hero of Asgard, which is a much later version of Thor than the original box set Thor, which is just Thor, leader of Midgard, leader of Midgard. I forgot what his moniker is, but he's just Thor. He's just Thor from the original movies, I would say.
Yeah.
So understanding that is very important to having fun with the game and not thinking, well, I have Iron Man and he should be able to do this. Well, no, there will be a version that can do that, but not that particular one.
Yeah. For example, they have Hulkbuster, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a actual 2 model.
Yeah.
So you'll get those different versions, and in a lot of ways, they've nailed every single one they've done. I think, just in terms of sculpt, right?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it's getting to the point where, like, do you have a favorite character? They're probably in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, like, unless you're one of those like hyper niche nerds, But even then, they literally have, the monsters, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy,
exactly.
Like they have him.
The Marvel monsters are there, and I mean, it was funny listening to Will Schick on House Party Protocol the other day. The other Will was interviewing him, and one of the things they were talking about was like, yeah, we don't have the Wall and we don't have Stiltman yet. And he was like, yet there could be a time. He's like, I'm not going to tell you right now that Stiltman is on that priority list of stuff to put out, but we're also not going to close the door on anything. So I love the fact that they can do that. It's brilliant design, and it's such a great design space because, okay, let's say we put out, a Spider-Man. Well, I will use Spider-Man. He's the easiest one to show how they've tracked him through his different phases. You have Spider-Man, who's very young. He's the one that comes in the original box. He's not that powerful. He's not that strong.
No.
Then you move on and you have the Amazing Spider-Man, who now is growing into being a crime fighter, being the Spider-Man from the movies, and, having those powers and what have you. But it also, if you're playing Web Warriors, it gives you the option to, I don't have the points for Amazing Spider-Man, but I want those abilities. I'll just slot in the regular Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. So lots of flexibility there. One of the other great parts about this game is damage is a double-edged sword.
Yes.
The way the fundamental currency in this game is power, and that is what you use to do all of your abilities. Every character has a builder or a gainer. A builder power is basically usually a zero cost power that has a bit of range and a bit of damage, and you gain power for each damage that goes through to your opponent. So whatever damage they don't mitigate, you get power for that. So, and they're usually 4 or 5 dice attacks. They're your just bread and butter attacks. They're usually not primed. They're not great, but that's what you do to fund all the rest of your cool powers. Some characters also have just straight out builders that are, you use this ability, you gain 1 power. Yeah. That's it. You're not gonna gain per damage dealt. The other fundamental way to get power is to take damage.
Yep.
So when the bad guys hit you and do damage, you get power equal to the damage you took.
Yep.
Which is a double-edged sword because you're getting closer and closer to either being stunned or KO'd, or you're also, funding up your powers. And the beauty of this game is when you do get dazed, which means you have to flip your card over to its backside, which is usually most of the times the abilities stay the same on the backside. Sometimes they change a little, but you're that much closer to death. The next time you take too much damage, you go out of the game. But all the power that you had when you flipped stays.
Yep.
So if somebody did I have 6 health on my front side, they did 6 damage to me. When you flip and you come back at the beginning of the next turn, you have that 6 power to spend. So you have this ebb and flow of, I got ganked, but now I'm going to gank the guy that got me. So very fun little mechanic there that provides for an automatic catch up all the time.
Yep. Yeah, it's really great. And it has that feel that you have from like the comic books, right? Like, all right, yeah, you knocked him down, but now he's angry, so he's going to do the attack, right? Or something like that. It's really fun. It's so fun. And for goodness sake, one of the great things about this game is collecting your favorite Marvel characters. That is one of the biggest parts of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because, Nightcrawler exists. Right?
Yes.
My favorite character.
That was the thing for you, was you were waiting for Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And for me, there was a couple I was waiting for, one of which was Silver Sable. I just always loved her. So much fun. But yeah, there's so many characters that I just really enjoy. I think if I had to point out a favorite, it would be Iron Man. But from the comics, not from the movies. Although I love the movie version. But yeah, it's whatever your favorite is, chances are it's out there.
And really, another really big thing for this is if you love terrain, this is a game for you. And we'll talk a little bit more about like how terrain interacts and all that. But like terrain's a super important part of this game.
Yes.
In ways that you'll come to understand shortly, if you don't already know.
Yeah.
And like the terrain packs that they put out are insanity. Like they are so beautiful, so well sculpted. I mean, you have high rises, you have, monuments, you have throne rooms, you have so much out there.
You have Doctor Strange's Sanctum. I mean, it's just nuts what you can do. You have the Asgard. If you like it, you can find it. It's so gorgeous.
Oh, like the Wakanda one. Oh my goodness. With the waterfalls. Oh, Lord. Yeah, like it's just out of this world. And if you are big into terrain, this is definitely a game for you.
Yes, it is. It's amazingly good and well thought out. So much so to the point that, every year they usually do one of these things, which is called a rival panel. And what it is it's basically a moment, a snapshot from either a very cool frame of a comic book or a scene from one of the movies. They have like Weapon X program.
Yep.
Where you had, what's his name out there? You had Wolverine out there, and some of the other ones they've done was Spider-Man versus Doc Ock.
Yep.
Where you got a very cool Spider-Man, a very cool new Doc Ock, played same exact card. So it's not like, if you didn't buy this, you didn't have the cool version. But the rival panels were terrain, and the bases of the characters fit into that terrain piece. So it became an instant diorama.
Yep.
that you could display those characters on, or just use it as terrain, because it also came with a filler base that you could put on there when you were playing with that as a piece of terrain. So just brilliant. But the one year that they did the monsters, they did the Tomb of Dracula. And I just found out again in that interview on House Party Protocol podcast, which is all about MCP. They did the Tomb of Dracula, and that was supposed to be the rival panel. It was supposed to be the base for the rival panel, but as they added more and designed more into it, they were like, no, this is just a cool piece of terrain.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Schick was talking about was, if you notice, all the bases that come with the monster pack, they look exactly like the Tomb of Dracula terrain, or, you know, the ground cover.
Yeah.
And that's because they were supposed to be part of that diorama, but they were just like, yeah, no, we're just going to release these separately so that everybody can have fun with them, and we don't have to raise it to this ridiculous price point.
Yeah.
That would put it out of range for most gamers.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, that was so very thoughtful of your community, and just be so brilliant it hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously the publisher of the game and the main place to go is Atomic Mass Games. Look it up on the interwebs. They also do Shatterpoint and Star Wars Legion. And the way their website is cooked up, you have to, you know, when you go on there, you select the game that you want to look into, and then it will take you on to those particular, the boxes and the guides, the assembly guides. One thing that I would say I didn't put on the Pitfall list, but I should have, was all of their assembly instructions are online.
Yeah.
Which I get, it's fine. You know, you just point your phone over to it while you're sitting at the hobby desk and use your phone to be your assembly instructions. But I hate having my phone on my desk, because the way I spray glue all over the place, I'm always afraid I'm going to do something to my phone. So
I will say, though, that for the most part, though, the kits will go together really intuitively. For the most part, we'll talk about a Pitfall later, but you can generally look and see where the and see where the pieces go together. So,
and for the really crazy ones, you'll know, just go to the assembly instructions. Like for the Doctor Strange coming out of the portal, getting him, because you literally have to fish him into it.
Yep.
In this one vapor and out of the other vapor, and when it clicks into place, you're like, oh, that's perfect. But until then, it's like, how in the world? So yeah, it's fun. It's good.
Their website is also where they do their FAQs, their updates, things like that. So absolutely necessary if you're going to be playing.
Rules are free. Updates, errata are free. Virtually all the cards that have ever been changed are up there for free. So yeah, you can. They're not going to nickel and dime you to death. Now, local suppliers and where to get stuff. This is not a niche game, so you can pretty much get it anywhere. If you're in the Albuquerque, New Mexico, hell, the Southwest, Slice and Dice, once again, Vic over at Slice and Dice, huge supporter of the game, has everything and can get everything. One thing I will suggest, if you like to accelerate your setup time, there is a company called Mats by Mars, and I will put the link to them in the show notes. The beauty of these guys is they have the correct size mats, neoprene, and printed on them is the location of all the objective tokens. And when you think that the average game is going to have 4 secures and at least 4 extracts, that's having to measure and place 8 different objective tokens after the terrain's on the board. Okay, it's a pain in the bottom. So if you have a mat by Mars with all the stuff pre-printed, hey, it's like dink, 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 done. And it can literally save you 10 to 15 minutes per game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now these mats are not legal for tournament play at all, because in AMG's eyes, if you know, and you're going to know because the mission card, the crisis card, has the layout of the map, you're going to know what the distances are, and you're going to be able to eyeball distances.
Yeah.
A lot better, because one of the rules in this game is you can have exactly one movement tool and exactly one measurement tool on the board at any one time. So you can get a pretty good idea of where you're going and where you'll end up but they don't want you to know exactly whether or not you'll be within range of the bad guy. So that's why they outlaw those maps. But for home club, Tuesday night gaming use, those maps are phenomenally good.
No doubt, no doubt.
Now, as far as starter sets go, there's only one to talk about, and that is the Earth's. Wow, why is English all of a sudden so difficult?
Eartheth?
Yeah.
Earth.
I'm going to switch back to my native language, Pig Latin. Earth's Mightiest Core Box is where you get 10 characters, which is a bonkers value.
Yep.
A butt ton of terrain, enough terrain for your first games easily.
Easy.
As well as every token, every measurement tool, everything you will need to play the game in that box, including the bespoke dice. Just a phenomenal value inside that core box. If you are serious, get that box. It has the original outlay of all the team tactics cards, and you will need those at some point.
Yeah, alternatively, if you're just starting to get into it and you don't want to maybe you don't like the characters in the box, right? And you're like, if I really want to play this, I want to play the characters I like, Hopefully you know someone who has the, the bespoke dice and measuring instruments, right?
Yeah.
If not, they do sell those separately.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can pick up maybe, say, an affiliation pack, right? You're like, I really like Midnight Suns. Hey, look, there's an affiliation pack. Great way to get started. Right?
Yipper.
Those are 4 of the characters you absolutely want for your team,
Yep.
including the leader. So you can start that way. It's not as great a value,
No.
right? But if that's where you're going, you're like, I am going to be playing this affiliation.
Yeah, if your buddy you're playing with has the core set, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need 2. You'll have enough counters to play a game with 2 people from that one box. Now, you're eventually going to want to get cooler, newer tokens. And I was going to list some of the great places to go, but if you go to same as, what's that? I can't. If you search for MCP tokens, you'll see the company. It's something like same as original or just the same tokens. They do an amazing acrylic line of tokens for the game. Oh, just brilliant. The game is token heavy. You're going to be using a lot of the tokens. They are objectives. They are different ways of capturing different heroes' powers, plus health and power and all these status effects that you're going to have to track. Yeah, it's token heavy.
It really is. But it's not complex in that sense.
No.
So one of the things you are going to want to have is you will want to have some type of maybe a bead kit or something like that where you have all the different little trays for your tokens.
Yes.
Because you will need them every single game.
Yep. I would say just go over to get the Battle Box from Battle Kiwi. They're a company in New Zealand, Battle Kiwi. Here's my next suggestion. We don't have an affiliation with them, with Battle Kiwi yet. But go over to House Party Protocol, listen to one of his episodes. He will give you the discount code that he has for them, and use that and get yourself a little bit of a discount. If you go to the Battle Kiwi website, make sure you select what country you're from and what your local currency is. Because if you look at it in New Zealand dollars, you're going to look at now, I'm going to buy this box and it's going to be $150. And you're like, no way. And then you switch it to American dollars and you find out it's 36. Okay, that's more reasonable.
Yeah.
But they do have a U.S. store now, so yeah, no more of that shipping from New Zealand. The Battle Kiwi Battle Box for MCP is phenomenally great value. It gives you the very bottom, has all the place for your tokens, your dice, your cards, everything you need to play the game. And then on successive levels, and they're all magnetically linked, you have a place for all your measurement tools. And then next up, you can buy as many character panels as you need, where you're able to slot in your character card and track your power, your status, any objectives you're carrying. Super handy to have. Amazingly handy. Highly recommend the Battle Kiwi Battle Box.
It does not come with an actual Kiwi.
No.
Unfortunately.
But I'll bet if you asked politely, they would send you one. Although, I don't know, it would probably go bad. I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they won't. Just go buy a Kiwi.
So the one thing you have to understand is that this is a very vast range. There are quite a number of affiliations. Again, go to the website to look at the different affiliations. I think, if you're not going straight with the core set, or you have a friend who already has the core set, right, and you want to say, okay, who do I want to play? Go look at the affiliations, so you can get an understanding of who can be on your team.
Yes.
So that way you know, like, what you're going to purchase. But like I said, it's a vast range at this point.
Oh, for God's sakes, yes. When you get into some of the really crazy stuff, like if you want the generic, I want Avengers. Well, God, just about everybody's been an Avenger.
Yep.
You can run the Avenger team. Shield is beginning to get huge. If you prefer the other side, you go Brotherhood of Mutants, Cabal. Hell, you can go into Hydra.
Yeah.
All the different, just whatever affiliation really speaks to you. Yeah, go onto their organized play portion, look at the affiliation list, and see who's out there that you can use in that. And keep in mind that when you're building a list, only when you put a list on the table, only 51% of it has to be that affiliation. You can mix in other characters. So you could conceivably play Brotherhood of Mutants with Magneto and have Iron Man in there as well. So as long as 51% meets the thing, you get the leadership ability. You're half the fun of this game is putting together a list that might work, only to find out that you're going to get pounded into oblivion. But that's if you're me.
Yeah, list building is pivotal in this game.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It's pivotal. So looking at it, I mean, if you want to like really dive into the lore of this game, go buy some comics, man. Like, watch the movies, do some like. There's nothing. I mean, you know what it is.
It's Marvel.
It's Marvel. It's been around forever.
I would say get, as much as I hate to say it, get the Marvel Unlimited subscription, and you can read every Marvel comic book ever made, including Superman what's his name? Superman number one. That's DC.
Yeah.
You can read all the way back to Iron Man #1, and it's nuts. The amount of lore out there, it's Marvel. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that one.
It's also really important too, if you don't want to paint, because when you get into hobby, talk more about this, but if you want to paint your characters like they look on the box, you like having a different idea, or you want to look for different ideas.
Yeah.
Obviously the comic books are the way to go. There's been umpteen iterations of every single character.
Yeah. If you want to do the Inhumans from the Royal Court era, well, the box art is that's exactly what they're there for. If you want to do them in the first Ingress, go look it up, and it will show you what they looked like back then. Yeah. And it's markedly different. It's not as black. So, I mean, I truly love the Inhumans. Black Bolt scheme with if you can capture those amazing highlights, it's so good. Or if you're me and you just approximate it. But yeah, I mean, it's so many different paint schemes out there that you can jump into just by going through the lore, and Google the name of the character and you'll see images, so many that you'll just get lost.
Yep. But it'll help you with determining how you're going to paint,
Oh, sure.
We were talking about earlier, you don't know how to paint Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be green? Is she going to be black? Is she going to be red? Is she going to be gold? No one knows until you do it, right? Yeah. But you have that ability to do so. And if you really want to, look into it, pull up the character, just search them online, look up all the different outfits in the images, right? And you'll get a good idea of maybe where you want to go painting-wise.
Yep. As far as apps and digital support goes, everything for this game, from the rolls to the cards to everything you need to play, are on the Atomic Mass Games website. It's not always the easiest website to navigate because, again, they have the 3 major games. So they use the same idea, methodology. You go to the Marvel Crisis Protocol section, you go to Organized Play, and it will have like the base size list and the affiliations list and all these other lists. Then you go to the rules section and it will have all the different rules plus the erratas and changes. So it can be a little confusing to navigate their website. They should spend a little money on that to make it better, but it's still very, very good. My number one pick for a different website to go to is called the Jarvis Protocol. Whoever the person or group is that maintains the Jarvis Protocol, wow, donate money on their site. sign up for them. They put a lot of work into this site. You can do everything from building lists and legal lists, because it will sit there and snapshot for you and say, yes, you can do this. This is a mix that you can realistically use in games. You will be able to play well, and it will tell you if you have some glaring, you're not going to be able, over half the teams that you can build will not follow your leadership.
Yeah.
It'll tell you things like that. You can do custom cards. So if you're doing a campaign on your own, a narrative thing on your own, you can make up custom cards there and print them out. It's just gorgeous. You can do full listings. You can track your collection. It's such a good site. Cerebro is also very, very good. I think Jarvis does more, but again, it's one of those things. It's your own preference that's going to determine what you like.
Why not both?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's the web. You can do either. So very great support for this game in the electronic arena. Now, we've already pretty much covered how factions work in the game, but as you're determining that you want to play a certain thing, definitely look at the affiliation list and see. It will help you not buy stuff that you're not going to be able to use.
Well, that's one of the pitfalls we'll talk about.
Yeah, and they're working on that. Will Schick made the comment about, they don't want to be in that position of, if you want to play X, you have to buy this box and the one character that you need and the other one you'll never play. They're trying very desperately to get away from that kind of thing, but understand that their license comes from the big mouse company. Okay, so Disney determines what they can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Everything they design has to be approved by Disney. So, and sometimes Disney dictates, hey, we've got this movie coming up. We need you to release this.
Yeah.
Or work on something like this. And so understand that they are sometimes hampered by that. So, and again, every gang of superheroes that you can think of, the big ones are super simple. You're going to see S.H.I.E.L.D., you're going to see Avengers, you're going to see Brotherhood of Mutants, you're going to see Cabal, you're going to see Web Warriors and Spider Foes. So whatever you want to lean into, you can. And look at those lists. You're going to see some affiliations in there, I'll bet you, that you're going to be like, I didn't know they were a thing. The idea that Defenders and Convocation are actually two separate lists.
Yep.
To me, that was something that I never really considered. Was Convocation was not Defenders, because I always thought Convocation was just a subset of Defender. No, it's its own affiliation. So, okay, that's great.
And when it comes to what they've been trying to do recently, but the affiliation packs are where they gather usually about 4 characters for one of the affiliations, right? And that's like the start collecting X affiliation, right? Is a way to think about it.
Yeah.
Fun thing is, and we'll talk about gameplay here, but if you bought just one affiliation pack, you probably have enough to play a game.
Yeah.
Right. At least one game, because we're not talking what it means to get into the tournament and more leagues and stuff like that right now. But it's enough to get you in the door, right? And just the laundry list of affiliations will blow your mind.
And if you look and you take a critical capitalist eye view of what the affiliation boxes are, usually they make sure to give you a leader for that faction or affiliation, and they gather up the characters from boxes that you would not have wanted to spend money on. You wanted that one character, but the other one didn't feed into that motif at all.
Yeah.
And so they gather those together and put them in affiliation boxes to make it a lot easier for the community to collect what they want and not what was in the release schedule at the time and approved by the mouse. So let's jump into the hobbies of the house. This is where we're going to talk about some pitfalls. We have a separate section for pitfalls, but a lot of them are going to come here.
Yeah. So, when the models are fully put together, they're beautiful, right? They really capture how the characters look. I'm thinking like Emma Frost, right?
Oh.
You get 2 models for her because she has her diamond form, right?
Yeah.
And they both are just such Emma Frost poses.
Oh my God, they're so good.
You have very dynamic ones too, Hulkbuster launching into the air.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes.
The Amazing Spider-Man on top of the railing that's crashing into the ground, right? So there's a lot to these, but sometimes the sprues are horrible. You will be gluing at some point, if you play this game, a head together that's 3 pieces.
Yes.
You're like, why is the head 3 pieces? That's a fantastic question. I think that someone was very angry when they designed those sprues.
I don't fully understand the engineering of how sprue cutting software works and how they cut these models apart. I don't claim to be an expert. However, I have built enough models, and especially the Bandai, to know that there's some amazing things you can do with injection molding nowadays, and overhangs and undercuts are not nearly as much of a thing as they used to be. But honestly, every time I have seen a head that was split into 3 parts, and literally one side of the head, the other side of the head, and then the forehead and eyes and hair knot, and you're like, this is less than a quarter the size of my pinky.
Yeah.
Fingernail. Why? Why did you cut that to there? The character that's in the box with it has a far more defined head, and it's 1 piece.
Yeah.
This one is 3, and it's also half the size of the other guy.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I hate you. But once you get through it and you get the model built, you just look at it and you go, oh my God, that is so amazing. And they are a blast to paint. They really are fun to paint, and they're fun to experiment with. Don't look at the art that comes on the box and says, oh, that's what this is. It can be anything you want. And if you like Squirrel Girl from a particular panel, that's what you paint her as.
Yep.
And to hell with anybody that says, oh, that's not Squirrel Girl. Yes, it is. Here's the card.
Yeah.
Dork. MCP does not allow for rivet counting at all. Don't try it. So
in that regard, know that you're going to be operating with very small pieces that need to go together just right. You really also want to dry fit these guys.
Yes.
Because sometimes it might look like, oh yeah, the arm totally goes here, and then you're like, wait, it doesn't seem to fit there, right? So, don't just start slapping glue on it and throwing parts together. It's not orcs. So
yeah, there are certain kits like Cosmic Ghost Rider and stuff where you're going to look at how you want to do the sub-assemblies there, and you're going to look at it and go, I literally have to build this part, prime it, and paint it before I go on, because it's then going to be encapsulated in something else. Who is the guy? Baron Murdo? No, Baron something from Hydra.
Zemo.
No, not Zemo.
Oh, okay.
The guy that has the head inside his chest.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the clear color. Don't put that clear plastic piece on the model until you're done painting. Just don't. It's not right. Leave that clear piece off unless you're no, you can't paint the inside with it on. So, there's some things that you're going to look at, but there's very few models that really require sub-assemblies.
Very few.
To actually capture the effects that you want. I would say a couple of the ones that I would think are the Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, where he's coming out of the portal.
That one.
It's a pain to paint behind him as he's coming out.
Yeah.
Because you will almost always get paint where you don't want it, especially if you're airbrushing. So it might be the best idea to build that whole thing, but leave Strange off as a sub-assembly.
Also Original Strange, because he's got the ring around him.
Yep.
Like, they made Strange to paint. But a lot of times it's even, I think, worthwhile to like fully assemble the models before you paint them, to really get like kind of the aesthetic that you're going for, you know? Because there's so many times, like so many dynamic poses.
Oh yeah.
Cannot emphasize that enough. It's not just dudes standing there. It's like they are action-y.
The guys that do, this is one of those companies that they regularly talk about their sculpting meetings, where they literally have meetings where they do nothing but talk about what the sculpt is going to look, because they want it to capture a certain, like it's like Will said, they're doing a snapshot in time. They want this to look like an iconic panel from a comic or a very iconic scene from one of the movies.
Yeah.
And that that sets that moment in time, so that you know when that hero is existing, and by nature of that, what their power set's going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's the sculpting is off the hook. The guy that does the sculpting is freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think Ed knows him too. I think from back in their days at Privateer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the guy who cuts that model into sprues, him I want to have a talk with. I'll still buy him a beer, but I want to know why he does some of the things he does. So, and I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure he's not just sitting back there rubbing his hands together gleefully going, I've got you now, my little pretties. So
I think it'd be really funny if you do talk to him and he's like, because you, that's why.
Because I hate that character. So if I could have made the head 4 pieces, I would have.
Yeah.
He's the secret, he's the traitor in the AMG fold. There's nobody knows because he's so good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So again, you'll be handling multiple small pieces. So make sure that you've got some type of setup so that way it doesn't disappear into the hole in your carpet.
Yeah.
Whether it's gonna be a tray or what have you. Like
yeah, these are very small models with very small parts. So try not to drop stuff. I mean, I did it with my first, I had to rebuy Psylocke.
Oh,
because, well, here's my 2 stories. Psylocke, I broke her sword off, and then I went to pin it, and it did not work well. When I say it didn't work well, I meant it didn't work at all. And then I managed to have it on my desk. I moved a piece of paper, which then shot the sword blade at near relativistic velocities, obviously. I still have not yet found it, okay? And this room is not that big, okay? There are limited places to hide if you are a small chunk of plastic. And I have almost never given up on a part, except that case, and I had to go buy a new Psylocke.
It reminds me of what's that meme where someone's like building a Gundam and like a piece of the head falls off and there's a hole in the carpet and it falls in and the hole closes up. Yes.
Oh my God, that is so true.
Oh my goodness.
When you're doing the Gundam and you cut out that hand, and on the sprue, the hand is completely articulated. So it was molded like that. And you're like, oh my God, that is so amazing. And then you get the part that's right next to it, which is like one of the fingernails. And you're just like, that is so microscopic. There is no way they can make that actually fit into that thing and stay. And the first one goes perfectly. You're like, oh, I cut it out. I used the tweezer. Oh, click. Oh my God, it's there. And it articulates. It moves. And it's, the size of a gnat's ass. And then you cut out the next one and it flies across your desk. And you're like, he's not going to have that finger.
Well, I'll just add it to his lore that, that fingernail fell off at one point.
Yes, he lost that finger in a fight with, GHQ 99. But anyway.
One thing, too, the plastic is a little softer.
Yes.
For the most part. So don't go ham on trying to scrape or, using your hobby knife. Like, you will cut into it. So be careful.
Yep. It's not GW plastic. It's not super soft plastic. But it's not, in order to get some of that posability and moldability, they use a slightly softer plastic, which is fine. It's very good. It takes paint well. So I like it, but I think you called it right here on the head. You have to have patience on building these models.
Yep.
You have to have the patience. All right. We're going to dive into gameplay just a little bit, an overview of kind of how to start a game. And basically what you're going to want to do, and at the very beginning, you don't have to do this, but as you progress, you'll want to. Mm-hmm. But you build a roster of 10 characters. Now, if you don't have 10 characters right away, talk to your opponent and come to a nice agreement so that you can play. But the basic roster is 10 heroes. Now, you can have any 10 heroes you want. You can just mix and match to your heart's content. If you want the leadership bonus from the leaders, and the leaders have the little stars on them because they are one of the leaders of one of the affiliations, and they usually have a pretty cool benefit.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do.
you'll have to populate that 10 with a bunch from that affiliation, because once you start mixing and matching to play this scenario, you're going to have at least 51% of your playing roster be from that affiliation to get that benefit. So if you're playing 5 characters, you'll have to have 3 of them from the affiliation. If you have 3 of them that are outside the affiliation, you cannot use the leadership ability.
Now, there are some, particularly Dormammu, who breaks that rule 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dormammu. It's turning into a Dormammu joke.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, God.
Wow. Dad jokes on Father's Day. So Dormammu breaks it in the sense that if he's the leader, you could take anyone. They just become part of his affiliation.
Yeah.
Because they're just like the shadow versions of them.
Yeah, he's a faction of 1.
Yeah.
And anyone that's with him is in his faction.
And then, oh goodness, what's her name? Emma Frost.
Emma Frost.
Yeah, the Hellfire Club's a little different.
They have an affiliation list
They
now, and they have nerfed Hellfire Club into, wow, that affiliation list is so bad.
It used to be a card that she had to take, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took that My Hellfire Club, and then everybody, if you basically waste a tactics card, and everybody becomes Hellfire Club.
Yeah, and it was
No
all the
longer.
mutants, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
No longer.
So, there's different way of plays, right?
Yeah.
But it's really cool that you get to figure that out, right?
Yes.
List building, interestingly enough, you'll have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
You'll have a lot of fun list building.
And what's nice about having 10 characters, and on an average game, you're going to use probably 4 to 7 of those. Very rarely will you go more than 6 or 7. Very rarely less than 4, because it's an action economy. If you start trading away your action economy for super big power, and one of that big power gets blanked, well, you've lost the action economy war.
Just to explain that a little bit more so you understand, is that the power level of your character will determine how many characters you can get in. So, like,
Yes.
let's say the mission is 15, right?
Yeah.
That means each character has a power level, right? From 2 up, right? So you have to add those together to be at or below the 15.
Yeah.
So what, Dormammu's 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're on a 15, right, yeah. I think he's an 8. Right, he's really powerful.
Yeah.
So you bring him, you got a couple extra maybe.
Yeah.
So you have to be very conscientious of which characters you're including because of power level. That's why they do the roster system.
Yeah, and one of the nice parts about Jarvis Protocol is if you build your list in there, you can go to the function that says, show me all the lists I can build. And it will show you that at level 15, this is the lists you can put together. At 16, at 17, at 18, at 20. Here's all the lists you can make. And you can check and see, and you can look and say, oh my God, at 15, it's going to be unplayable.
Yeah.
And so you can change your roster around and, build in more lower threat or fill up the holes. I mean, there are websites and podcasts that do nothing but talk about how to build your lists.
Yeah.
And how to make them effective. And there's everything from the all-comers list to the I do nothing but control the pace of the game list to I am just so in your face, I beat you to death. Actually, attrition lists are kind of falling out of favor right now because of the way they're emphasizing the secures and extracts. We'll get that here in a second. But they're prioritizing objectives more, like they've eliminated an entire map type because it was leading to more of a punch up in the middle than it was let's play the objective game.
Yeah.
And so they are consciously aware of how the meta changes, and they make changes to react to it.
Yep.
So yeah, you build your 10 heroes. And now you have to do the hardest thing in the game, which is to choose 5 team tactics cards that you're going to have. You get 10 team tactics cards, but you can only bring 5 in a game. Selecting those 10 is quite possibly out of the, 300 some odd team tactics cards. Now, some team tactics cards are limited to specific characters and specific affiliations. Like it will say, Shield. And it can only be used if your team is a Shield team. Most of the cards are unaffiliated, and they have effects ranging from you have to look at the cards. It's everything from this character gets a free, medium move to this character gets a Helios laser bombardment that does 10 dice of damage to everybody in this area. And, it's everywhere in between. There's a card that allows you to, when you no longer have the priority, you can pay 10 power from all your different characters. However it comes out to you, just pay 10 power and you get initiative.
Yep.
Which can swing a game completely.
Oh, yeah.
So putting together your team tactics cards, good luck. I haven't been able to figure it out yet. I just take ones that look cool and hope they work. It's just, that's how it is. There are some ubiquitous cards, like you're going to probably almost always take the, what's his name card that keeps you from taking damage from a throw, but whatever. And then you are done with that. Now you have to pick your crises. Mm-hmm. Now there's like 18 or I think there's 16 of each crisis or 12. There's a bunch of different crises, and they're split into two groups, secures and extracts. Probably you can tell from the name what you have to do. Secures are you secure that point with a character. Extracts are you pick up whatever it is and take it off the board, take it away, win the game with it.
It's really funny because one of those, the extracts will involve like senators, right? And so you have these little senator tokens, and this is the concept that your hero or villain is carrying away a senator.
It's just nuts.
Awesome.
It's so cinematic, it's ridiculous. But you're going to pick 3 of these. Now, what's weird about picking your crises is each crisis not only has a point allotment, which we were talking about before, which is going to determine how big of a team you can build between 15 and 20. It's also going to have the map layout.
Yep.
And then it's going to have what the effect of that crisis is. Some of them are like, if your character at the end of the turn isn't within range 2 of one of these secure objectives, you're going to take damage. Or it might be that if you control this objective, you gain 2 victory points, but if you're within 2 of it, you take 2 damage. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that just sucks.
Yeah.
I hate you. So these are all different objectives, and you have to, when you're picking these crises, you have to look at what are the strengths of your team, what are your weaknesses. Don't pick crises that you're weak for, and try to pick the ones that you're strong on. Mm-hmm. And then when you actually start to getting to play the game, you're going to start off rolling initiative, and then the player that wins is going to pick one of his decks, either the secures or the extract, randomize the 3 and pull 1. The other player is going to pull from the opposite deck. So if I picked secures, you would pick extract, and randomly you flop those cards out, and then the player that lost the initiative determines which one of the 2 cards is used for the power allotment for the game.
Yep.
So everything is nuts up till that point. Now, once here's our objectives, here's our secure and our extract, and we have a point value, now you go back to your list of 10 heroes and 10 team tactics cards, and you pick an amount of heroes that, like you said, doesn't go over, but you think can win the game, and then you pick 5 team tactics cards to play with. Mm-hmm. Now you're into the game, and you start playing, and it's a blast.
So we talked about earlier, there are bespoke dice and measuring tools. You have to use the ones that they provide.
Yes.
Because they're very specific. Like the short, medium, and long moves are all a certain size.
Yep.
Right? It's not in inches. It's like, what's your move? M.
Yeah.
If your move is M, you get the M stick, and you measure from that. And it's front of base to back of base.
Yes.
By the way. Then if you've got like an attack range, they have range markers essentially.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And
different. Yeah.
And like they're not in any particular, like it's not like, oh yeah, well this one's 2 inches and this one's 4 inches. It doesn't follow natural flow because like a 1 to a 5, like the difference is insanity.
Yes.
So you will have to be using those no matter what. And one of the things you need to understand is you really need to understand your ranges because
oh yes,
this game is so heavily about movement.
Yep.
And movement manipulation
and placements of
where you place your character. There are a lot of throws in this game. Like you are actually, if you really want to get like more towards the competitive edge of it, you need throws.
Oh yeah.
And also like not necessarily throw immunity. There is some of that, but the ability to handle a throw.
Yeah.
Right. So learning how to place your characters is super important. Knowing your ranges, super important. So you really want to learn that stuff. Because when you get into it, you know, you don't want to be the guy who's like, all right, I'm going to go and try and like, I think I can take out this, you know, this villain. But then you realize that like, oh, I'm just outside of the range 2 on my attack that I need.
Oh, bummer.
We've all been there when we started playing.
Yes.
Because that's the thing is, you know, like you leave yourself open at that point. You're like, oh my goodness, I couldn't get any damage in and they have next activation. So here it goes, you know?
Yeah, it's a trap. It's a turn 1 trap. And, you know, AMG has done a brilliant job of taking away the turn 1 alpha strike.
Yep.
And whenever they see it crop up on a certain character, they make it go away. Malekith was a huge thing. He was a turn 1 terror. Yeah. He could alter the entire game on turn 1. You know, for a long time, Thanos was a turn 1 monster. Oh. The new Thor was kind of a turn 1 beast, but not. I think they nerfed him too much. But the turn 1 play is so critically important for setting up the bloodbath that is going to be turns 2 and 3.
Yeah.
As you beat each other to death, daze, KO. Well, hopefully not KO, but get characters dazed and then have them come right back on turn 3 and return the favor. It's just. The ebb and flow is so much fun in this game. Mm-hmm. And that it also kind of leads us to characters that, you know, as you're talking about, have throws and pushes. You know, Colossus just got a huge glow up because both of his attacks, his standard attacks, got either a push or a throw, a character throw. And
so good.
It's huge for giving him the control that he never had before. So he could race up to a secure point, and he's Colossus, for God's sake. He could race up there, and he's not a huge damage dealer. If you read a lot with Colossus, he's not the guy that beats people into oblivion. He imposes his will on people. And they've now kind of captured that with his rules, where he will go up there, he will make the attack, and it doesn't really matter the damage that he does because he's going to throw you off that point.
Yep.
And that point's going to be his. And then he also has immovable, which means you can't do the same thing to him. I don't care if you have a size 5 character throw. It doesn't work on him.
Yeah.
Because in this game, cannot overrides can.
Yep.
So if your card says your person cannot be pushed, then I don't care how many cards the other guy has. It says I push all characters, no matter what.
Yeah.
You do not get pushed. Period.
Yeah, that glow for Colossus was insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like borderline playable before that.
Yeah. No, he was not. He was not fun. He was one of my favorites, and he was not playable. Now he's a staple. He's good.
Yeah, his whole thing was before is he could just tank, right?
Yeah.
So you just put him on a spot and hope to keep it. But now that he's got the push and the throw, I was like, oh my boy.
And his big problem before was he could go to a secure, he could stand on it, you couldn't push him off of it, but he also couldn't do anything to take you off of it.
Yep.
So it ended up as a tie and nobody wins. So he was not doing what was on the label. So now he does.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy for that.
I am too.
So happy for that. And a fun thing too, so talking about sizes, right? You have different size of character, you have different size of terrain. And one of the coolest things is that you get to throw terrain around.
Oh, yes.
You full on get to throw cars,
build small buildings, big buildings. Every piece of terrain that they put out has a bottom, and it has a number imprinted on that bottom that tells you what the size of that terrain is.
Yep.
And just so you know, the miniature little stuff, you know, the park benches, the little tiny, like a mailbox, a street light, all that's size 1.
Yeah.
Just about anybody can throw that. Size 2 is going to be like the cars and things about that size. Size 3 is going to be like a trailer, a big truck, a small building, you know, the bodega and stuff. Those are size, I believe, 3.
Yeah.
And then size 4 is your like apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And what have you. And what this size does is it it's used in so many things. Like if I get thrown into a size 4 building, or if someone, let's take a car, for example, a better example. If I get thrown into a car, I am going to take damage from the throw and for impacting the car. If someone throws the car at me, I am going to take the 2 damage plus 1, and I have to roll my physical defense to defend against that. So imagine if I have a size 4 terrain throw and I pick up an apartment building and throw it at, I don't know, Squirrel Girl or X-23. That's going to hurt.
Yes.
Because it's coming in with almost a minimum of 5, which can be amplified. That's painful. And then that piece of terrain is gone.
Yes.
So if you were hiding behind it, guess what? You're now in plain view. So terrain, the game gets so cinematic when people are just sitting there, and you have Spider-Man who is bouncing off of this size 4 terrain piece. He's using his web sling ability to basically cross half the board in, an instant. And then somebody picks up that building and throws it at him. And he's like, well, that wasn't any fun.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. Anytime you play, even in your first game, however you set up terrain, it will be materially different by the end of the game.
If you're playing with some characters who, I'm looking at you, Magneto, who base their power on how much terrain they destroy in order to fund their, gravitic stuff. Your board is going to be fundamentally different. And again, don't cheap out on terrain. No. One of the things that everybody does is you go to the drugstores, the CVS, the Walgreens, all that stuff. And they usually have in the toy section, they have all these cars and little trucks and all that stuff. They're like $5.99, and each and every one of them is almost perfectly scaled for the game.
Yes.
Everybody, you watch videos, everybody uses those. They are great, and they give you terrain to operate with and to throw.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Take 3 pieces of PVC, cut them, stack them up like in a triangle pattern. Boom. You have an instant size 2 and or size 3 piece of terrain that looks like anything on a construction site.
Yes.
And there's a whole construction site kit that you can.
It's true.
There's so many ways to do crazy terrain in this game. It's just fun. It's just fun to put together, beyond what they give you.
Yeah. Oh, just one thing I want to touch on. So there are 3 different types of attacks essentially and defenses.
Yes.
You have physical, energy, and mystic. Right. So red for physical, yellow for energy, blue for mystic. And you'll see your character's defenses. An average defense for all of them is 3. Right. If you're 3-3-3 across the board, pretty standard.
Pretty standard defense.
Now your power level may augment that.
Yep.
Right. So it could be if you're that's usually that would be like a power level 3 kind of character.
Yeah.
Right. The lowest is 2.
Yeah, 2.
If you're a 4 power character, you maybe have a 4 in your physical defense. Or if you're like a master of the mystic arts, you may have a 4 in your mystic defense.
Yeah.
Mystic also relates to psychic abilities in this too.
Yes.
So that corresponds with the type of attacks that you have, right? So, for example, Nightcrawler, let's say.
Yeah.
If anyone likes Nightcrawler, he's in the game. He's all physical attack.
Yeah.
Because that's how he attacks. Yes, he has his little bamf abilities that he can do. But then you'll have, Phoenix, who almost everyone has a physical builder.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be different properties. It'll give you a choice sometimes. It can be physical or energy.
Yep.
But then she's psychic, so she'll have some mystic stuff on her.
Yep.
Right. So you have to pay attention to that correspondingly, especially when you're building your lists and looking for what your weaknesses might be in just defense. That way, okay, so I'm going up against Convocation, right? So I'm going to need to make sure that I've got some good mystic, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the list building aspect too. But, when we're saying, you did the physical damage, that's what we're referring to.
Yeah, it's balancing the different types of attacks and defenses. It used to be that Mystic was the strongest attacks because there was very little Mystic defense out there. Just about everybody had that straight up 3. But now that they have a lot more of the Mystic type characters out, there's a lot bigger mix. So they've achieved more of that equilibrium where you literally have to defend against everything.
Yeah.
Or have a plan to defend. Now, some characters have the ability to change their attack type by spending some power. Like, I'm going to shoot my builder, but I'm going to make it energy instead of physical. Because you have 4 physical, but only 3 energy. So, hey, if I can deny you at least 1 die, that's chances are more I get hit. So, wow, I are good English. Chances are more I get hit. Yes. Okay. Was there a verb? Was there an action in that sentence?
Right.
Okay. Wow.
And like, for example, for like Emma Frost, right? She has her diamond form. So when you transfer into her diamond form, it changes her defenses. So there's ways that you can manipulate it, right? So you really need to be conscious of those things when you're really starting to get into the ins and outs of your list building. But when you're getting started, just go buy the damn game.
Yeah. And buy what you like and play what you like.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's so much dicing in this game. And, people are always, oh, I hate so much randomness. When there is enough randomness in the game that it evens out over the course of a single game. Now, I have watched Aegis Brand Studios. I have watched games where he just literally, for the course of an entire game, he rolled so badly that his opponent was like, this was bullshit.
Yeah.
This was horrible. This was horrible. And then he has games where it's completely average and, you get kind of along the curve you want. And then you'll have games where you spike. Because of the bespoke dice, you have the same dice that you use on offense, you use on defense, because there's shields, there's hits, there are criticals, there are skulls, which are really, really bad, because there's a lot of rerolls in this game, but you can't reroll skulls unless it specifically says you can. But then there's also the crit. And the beauty of the crit is that if you roll, say, 2 or 3 crits, you pick up 3 more dice. So let's say you rolled 3 crits on a roll. Not only do those count as hits, but then you roll 3 more dice. And you get to do damage from that too. So literally, like say on a 5 dice builder, you could potentially do 10 damage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's out there. You could do that. So it's rare. And if it happens, you just have to literally scream so the entire store or whatever hears you. But there's so many vagaries that I think the RNG sort of balances itself out in each game. I don't think there's going to be games where you just get diced. You just can't roll a hit and you can't roll a defense and you flat out lose because you're not in the game at that point. But very rarely does that happen. I would say in my career, I have rolled bleedingly average over the course of all my games. No complaints about the dice whatsoever.
It's usually how it goes. It may seem that it's like not intuitive at first, but once you start rolling the dice and you understand what the different symbols mean, next thing you know, it's just second nature,
And certain dice.
And we're back from our technical difficulties. Yes. So the thing about it is that I think the way the dice tend to roll, right, makes it that much more cinematic. Now, of course, no one likes that in like a tournament setting.
Sure.
Right? Does it happen? Sure it does. But, building in the right things in your list, right, should help you somewhat compensate for that. There'll be times where it's just all you see are blanks and skulls.
Yeah.
It will happen.
It's gonna.
But when you have the ability to do rerolls, right, that's where you start to get, the redundancy you need just in case the dice are like giving you the middle finger.
Web Warriors, Wakanda, there are dice manipulation methods in this game. Hell, there's recalibration matrix where, if you're doing that 10 die attack and you literally do 1 damage, you can do a recal matrix and just everybody rolls everything again. You just start over.
Yeah.
It costs you, but for some big attack like that really just fails, it's worth it.
Yep.
And if you have that team tactic card in your mix, then you're insured against it. But I mean, you're going to see games where a 10 die attack does 2 damage and a 4 die builder does 6.
Yes.
And you're just like, I love this. It's so amazing that, just the regular Spider-Man can just walk up to Thanos and just deck him.
Yeah.
And you're like, that cannot happen. Well, yeah, it can, because it just did.
It just did.
So it's so much fun. And don't get wrapped around the axle about it. You're going to have that game where you don't roll all that well and your
just like
opponent's
any other
on
game.
Fire. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all had those games in any other number of miniature games where just for some reason your dice for Warhammer, for example, are like, nope, it's all ones. You're like, dang it. So you go play Conquest. And then all those sixes that you were hoping for when you're playing Warhammer show up.
Exactly.
Like, dang it.
Why? Same set of dice, but now they won't roll, you jerks. Yep.
So that's why here at in your podcast, we recommend Salt Bass. I'm kidding.
The microwave. Okay.
Anyway,
the different formats that you can play this game in are also fun. Now, there's the standard tournament format, which we kind of went through and discussed, which is, you set up your 10-man team, you set up your tactics cards, you play it just that much. You can also play a casual game where you just literally say, I want to take these 5 heroes. You pick 5 heroes. Who cares if it's completely balanced? You just play the game and have some fun.
Yeah.
And it's completely doable. I wouldn't, if you take all 7 level characters and the other person takes all 3s, yes, it's going to be a stupid game. But, balance it out. Hey, let's just play a 20-point game or a 22-point game, which you can't do in the cards. But you can say, hey, let's play a 25-point game. Let's get a bunch of heroes out there.
Yeah.
Okay. And, one guy can go real tall with 3 7s and a 4, and the other guy goes with nothing but 3s and has a really wide team.
Yeah.
So, and you'll probably have fun. It probably will be a good game. Don't sweat it. But then there's also the crisis modes.
Oh, it's one of my favorite modes. Modes.
The crisis modes are kits.
Yeah.
That you can either buy or you can get from your friendly local game store. Because if you buy a crisis kit, it comes usually with like a set of 8 so that up to 8 people can play it. So like when Vic was buying these things for the store, he would buy like 4 or 5 of these so that he could handle everybody there. And what they are is usually it's a crisis mode. It's like Ultron against all the teams. And one person is playing Ultron and he has Ultron. That's it. And the other 2 or 3 people are playing full teams. They're playing a regular team against him, and it's even. Because of the way you're using a card for Ultron that you would never use in a normal game.
Correct.
Because it's like power 45.
Yeah.
And you have abilities that you can use depending on what the other guys do to you. You can just pop some of these crazy things. And it's just a crazy fun game. And it makes it into a cooperative game, which is kind of fun. And sometimes the bad guy is actually AI. It's you don't even have to have a bad guy player.
Yeah.
It just, the cards will dictate what that thing does. And you can play a 4-person cooperative game. And it's so much fun.
So fun. It's, it's a raid, right? Think of it that way if you didn't quite congeal yet. And the one we have, Ultron is one of them. Thanos, right?
Oh, they have the Thanos. Yeah, they have
Dormammu.
They have Hell.
Hell.
The Hell one. There's a bunch, and a lot of the older crisis modes are on their website. You just print them out, and you can play them. So it's not like, oh, if I don't have the box, I can't. No, you just print out everything you need. The tokens that you need are in there. You just cut them out and stick them onto something. Super easy to put it together. And they put those out just for the sheer fun of it for game nights at hobby stores to get people not always having to play head to head. Sometimes you want to play a simple co-op game. You order a pizza, you have it on the side table, and then all 4 of you are playing against this whatever.
Yeah.
And there are some of the scenarios are crazy, like the symbiote shuffle, where you're just trying to race to get these different symbiotes, and it's cooperative, but there's a competitive edge to it because if you get certain symbiotes, you're like, oh God, I just got screwed. And other ones are like super good. And
it's 3 to your attack roll.
Yeah.
What?
They can be so much fun. And, the sky's the limit. You can design your own ones of these. Look at the format that they use and how they kind of balance it. And you can start designing these on your own. I know a person that has done that to just make for a fun game at the end of a tournament, or the end of a league. So it's a great fun payoff at the end of something, or, it's usually like when a new character comes out. Like when Ultron came out, Ultron came in the box, but when they did the Ultron Crisis mode, it was so much fun. Oh, it was crazy as the freaking missiles were going across the table, and you're like, I gotta stop it. I can't stop it. You have to. No, literally, I cannot. Oh, shit. Yeah, that was fun. That was me and Alma, and I think it was me and Alma and Anders were playing on the same side, and there was just one missile. We couldn't stop it. It was like, oh, you piece of... Anyway, so in a nutshell, that is, the different modes and the different ways of sort of engaging the game and how the game plays. It's incredibly fun. The upswing, even when you get your character dazed, you're not done, because you're going to have all the power from the damage that you took, as well as any that you might have had from before. And then on the next turn, when you come back up, yes, you're on your dazed side, you're injured, but you have that buttload of power to spend. And you look through your abilities and go, oh my God, if I chain these two things, I am going to wipe out Thanos.
Yeah.
And then, you just wipe out the guy that wipes you out. And so there's this constant ebb and flow that makes the game engaging. And as you play through the turns, you're never really out of it. There's going to be games that, on turn 3, things haven't broke your way, and somebody's almost at 14 points and all they have to do is exist, and they'll win at the end of this round. But you might just be able to push them off all those points.
Yes.
And think about it before you just concede, because again, it's never over till it's over.
Yeah, it'll swing back and forth. Like, it's so fun. It is so fun. And I really feel like, unless you're just taking a bunch of randos, like if you actually put some thought into your affiliation list, roster. That's what I was going for. Your roster.
English are hard.
English. Neither of us can English today. For the rest of the show, we'll be recording an interpretive dance. So when you're building your roster, you can put in those types of redundancies that you need to handle.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the points that you take, most of the time is going to feel balanced.
Yeah.
Because, they have 2 big characters on the board, but 2 big characters can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
And if necessary, you can pit multiples of your characters up against that character, and it generally balances out.
Yeah.
As long as you do your matchups correctly for the type of attacks and defense. So, gosh, this game is fun.
It is.
But the major pitfall, I think we somewhat alluded to it earlier, and I think, you said they're working on fixing it, but a lot of the old boxes, folks, you would buy a box that comes with 2 characters because you wanted one of them for your affiliation. And it sucks.
Yeah, it was so maddening to buy character X that I really need to fill out my roster for Convocation, but then I also got Luke Cage that I'll never use, or will use very sparingly, but only in different lists. And if I'm not interested in playing the lists where he's effective, I have literally wasted money on a character.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Will Schick was real adamant about, we get that. We understand that. That's why we're doing these affiliation packs. That's why we're reboxing a lot of these things so that it becomes more. But when we were originally, the first couple of years where you're trying to get effective fighting forces out there, you have to just push stuff out. And sometimes the mouse said, this movie's coming, so we want these 2 characters, put them in a box. And they were like, but that's not what, shut up and put them in a box and get them out there. Okay. And so, right. For instance, the box that just came out right now, and you can tell as they assign the CP numbers to the boxes, it's in the order that they have done, the project has been approved to do. So we're up in, I think, CP 200s now. And the box that just dropped for Jean Grey, Phoenix, is 83. So this was done reasonably early on. And, you know, he talks about on that podcast about how they have gone through so many iterations of her designs that just didn't work. You know, they had one of them where she would gain the tokens, and once she gained X number of tokens, her card would flip to the Phoenix side, and the countdown started at a certain point. When she got a certain number of tokens from that point on, the board explodes and that player loses, just flat out. That was one of their design interpretations. They didn't do it because, like they said, it became the player couldn't get rid of the tokens fast enough if the other guy was determined to put tokens on her.
Yeah.
So it became a just, you lose because you took this character.
Yeah.
That's not fun. And so, like he said, we had to do so many different iterations of how powerful she was. And like he said, we have this problem for the powerful characters. For like the Iron Mans and the Spider-Mans and the Wolverines and all that stuff, it's reasonably easy because their powers are normally defined, and they're not. I look at you and the world dies, which, you know, has always been the problem with not being able to do a Galactus. Or, you know, Gladiator just came out, and a character that could quite literally end all life in a 5-mile radius. Well, that doesn't lead to a fun game, you know? So how do you balance that? And they have achieved those different things. How this ties back into the boxes is the way they have been licensed means that some of those original boxes were very poorly constructed.
Yeah.
They just did not make sense. But if there's a character there, you've just got to go on eBay, go look for somebody that's selling one. There are some stores I have seen out there that have bought these boxes and built the characters in multiples and will sell you just the built character with the card and the tokens that you need. So there's ways of getting them without having to buy the whole box.
Yeah. And, you know, if you've got a buddy who is building the other affiliation that's in the box with the character that you want,
perfect.
there you go. You split the cost, right?
Yep.
And that's one of the things, like the financial aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
The affiliation boxes have made it much easier to get into a particular affiliation. Because before, I mean, like when we say you had to buy these boxes, like there's some times where you bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 boxes and you're not using the other half.
Yeah.
Right. So it was previously like financially difficult for some folks to be able to really get the affiliation that they want.
Sure.
But with the new affiliation stuff, again, you get your foot in the door. It's getting started, you know, Midnight Suns, getting started, Web Warriors, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, right now, if you want to get into Inhumans, there are 2 boxes that you can buy that have 8 characters. You plug in 2 from the core box, and you're done.
Yep.
You've got everything you need, and you haven't broken the bank. There are Shield boxes. There are Avengers. Oh, God, there's an Avengers box that's like, here's the core of everything you've ever needed. And you can play Avengers in any flavor you want.
Yeah.
So combine that with the Earth's Mightiest core set, and you got everything you need.
So, I mean, that's really kind of one of the only pitfalls, really.
Yeah, other than some of the assembly foibles, which
is
can
more
be
of a meme now.
annoying. Yeah, it's more of a, you know, everybody laughs about it, but you can get it done. We made it sound like it was hellish, but you're always going to have, I don't care what model you're building. It could be a dragon tank kit, and you're going to freaking have the barrel go flying off. So it's just a thing that happens in model building.
Yep.
So from where do you go from here? Just play the damn game.
Yep.
Just go
do it.
find a game store that has an MCP night. Find somebody that plays it and says, hey, teach me. You will learn the game in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.
It's the foibles and some of the wording. Now, at the tournament level, the strict order of operations and the exact attack sequences followed for every attack. And, you know, for 90% of your games, you're going to say, I'm attacking Iron Man with 6 dice physical. I pick up my dice, I roll them. You pick up your dice, roll them, and we're done. We don't worry about timings. We don't worry about all this stuff. But now, when you get into certain levels of competitive play, there is dice fixing that happens at certain steps along the way, and mine happens before yours unless you play this card, in which case you fix yours first. And there's all those things. Yes, it's like any other game. There is an advanced level to this game that if you want to get into the crunch part, it's there for you, and you'll have a blast. The competitive level players have that action sequence memorized, and they can tell you exactly. It's step 6A, and you just jumped ahead to 6B. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can we go back to 6A now? Yes, we will. Okay, and I mean, I had that when I was playing in the TTS league.
Yeah.
I got called out one time for jumping ahead when I should have given them the opportunity to modify first, and I didn't. And I was like, I'm sorry, I apologize. Let's just roll it back. Okay, cool. So much over. But he was that kind of player. He was prepping for more advanced tournaments. He wanted to make sure he was hitting every step. Okay, that's great. Fine. I don't care. It doesn't change anything. So, but yeah, just play the damn game. You can play it casual on a tabletop with your partner, with a friend, and you literally learn the rules by the second turn. Yeah. They are not hard. They are very intuitive. And it's not a terribly tough game to learn. No. It's a very hard game to master all of the synergies that exist. As far as synergies go, I think other than Infinity, this game has more synergies than any other game I've ever been associated with.
Oh, yeah. Like they've taken so much deliberate time to do that.
And that's it. The synergies make sense. It's, when you have Thor and Loki, there are cards that allow you to work together to do things that they did in the comic books. The throw, the Loki throw.
Yeah.
You saw it. It had to be in the movie because it was such a cool thing in the comic books.
Yeah.
And so it naturally had to be translated to the game. They have had to nerf it now because it was a little too strong, but they're constantly balancing. And one beautiful thing about these guys is because of the electronic age, when they see something that's really wrong, they fix it immediately.
Yes.
Unless it was Malekith, in which case they didn't care. And Thanos.
They didn't care until they sold enough kits.
Yeah. No. The Thanos thing, they have tried to fix Thanos so many times. They finally hit on, to me, what I think is the perfect answer.
Yeah.
That Thanos' amazing kit only works when he's in his faction. And now you don't see Thanos in every list at the tournament. Every list.
God, that was so annoying.
Well, and because he had that turn one thing where he could turn on his portals and he could just either decimate the enemy team or move his entire team forward. And it led to a lot of unfun games.
Yeah, it was a real Alpha Strike kind of approach. The as Bill said earlier, it is on TTS. So if you want to give it a shot before you go invest.
Yeah, if you want to spend zero.
TTS.
And the website has the rules and everything else you need. You go on TTS, you put together your team and say, will someone teach me?
Yes.
And you know what? You will get some really great teaching games on TTS because there are people that just hang out there looking for newcomers to teach them the game. And that's what they enjoy doing, and they do a good job.
And that speaks to the community here that you have in this game. It's generally a pretty solid community. We're going to have some of those competitive guys who are just too much. But generally speaking, anyone playing MCP is having a blast.
Most of the top-level tournament players will tell you, hey, listen, I want a tournament prep game. And if you're not ready to provide that, I can't do that. I'm just here to play a little bit of a fun game for an hour.
Yeah.
And you just dissolve it. You go out of you go back into the lobby and you have wasted neither person's time. Very rarely do you run across somebody that's like, hey, let's go play a fun game. And then they bring the most finely tuned, oh my God, awesome meta list. And they're like, no, you skipped the 6A. No. Okay. I'm out of that game. So you don't see that very often. More often than not, you tell somebody, hey, I haven't played in like 3 months. Can we just have let's play a quick fun game. And, we'll do just pick up teams.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you can do that on TTS. You could just go in there and pick 5 heroes.
Yeah.
Or 6 heroes, or X level of heroes. And, without ever putting together a roster and sets of team tactics. You don't have to play it that way. You can just play a fun game. So
yeah, and generally speaking, folks, too, you can go listen to the podcast. You can go watch stuff on YouTube, right? So there's plenty of stuff there for you to, whet your appetite while you're wondering whether or not you're going to get started with MCP. And I encourage you to, because it's one of the best skirmish games ever made.
Yep.
So and that's
getting started with MCP.
So as Bill said, next time we're going to be going back to our roots with AOS. Take a look at the new General's Handbook and the Sand and Bone gaming pack. So
I'm really excited for Sand and Bone. Don't care too much. The General's Handbook is fine. It's going to be a new way to approach the game, but I'm not really playing at that point, that level anymore. So but looking forward to both of them. Whenever they breathe new life into the game, I love that. So that's what we'll cover.
Yeah, well, I like anything that helps Spearhead develop because it's probably the best game mode AOS has ever had.
Yep.
Ever. So stay tuned for that, folks. And then if any of y'all Patreon members, we'll see you after dark.
The Albuquerque Narrative Gamers Podcast, or Anger Podcast, is protected under the Creative Commons license. You can find information for this at creativecommons.org. Information and links about the show's topics will be in the show notes, as will any other copyright information that needs to be presented.